My view is that feminism is the radical idea that women are human beings. We have had yeses from ACT, National.
And please describe your relationship with Zonta.
Well, you know, we're kind of friends with benefit. No, sorry.
Zonta is a network and an organisation of women
committed to women's rights in the broadest sense worldwide.
Zonta's a really fantastic platform for speaking about the broad range of gender-related issues.
As a club, it's a really active club. We've got some really lovely members and it's a very supportive atmosphere as well, so it's rewarding on a personal level as well. My name's Debbie G. I'm a member of the Zonta Club of Wellington. I'm currently the Vice President of the Wellington Club and I'm Chair of the Advocacy Committee. I grew up on a farm. My father was doing really interesting things on the farm. I was not going to be stuck in the kitchen making scones while he was out doing interesting things with the horses and the cows. And when they tried to tell me I couldn't do that because I was a girl, well, it didn't go down all that well.
I'm Claudia Orange and I'm an historian. I grew up in Ponsonby. My mum was always a very good sewer and worked very hard. I wanted to work as an historian because the more I looked at what historians had written, I realised they didn't actually write for the average reader to understand. And it seemed to me that I had some big questions about New Zealand history that I wanted answers to.
My name is Awesta Seddiqi and I'm currently working as a land advisor at Te Arawhiti. So my life growing up was essentially a fresh Afghan family, having just come over, and growing up in New Zealand. So I definitely would say we grew up as an Afghan family and slowly transitioned with the Kiwi culture. So different to other Kiwi kids for sure, but I would say now I'm pretty much Kiwi. Yeah. Growing up, it was definitely not a secret that in Middle Eastern culture, boys are definitely seen higher. And I think being one of 5 daughters, I always knew that, you know, male cousins or male counterparts would always be treated a bit different. And there was special things that I had to do because I was a girl. So I think I was always trying to prove a bit of a point when I was younger.
I'm Jessica. I work at Ministry of Justice as a service designer. Feminism itself is something that's changed a lot in the last decade. I mean, it's changed over decades.
I don't think I really thought much about feminism at all as I grew up, except that my mum was very strong. And when she went out to work, I realised it was broadening her attitudes.
When I started working in the 80s, we thought we were kind of getting there. We'd won a few things. I was a member back then of an organisation called Media Women, and we thought we were making some real inroads. And then it seemed that we reached a phase that was apparently called post-feminism, which I never really understood, and my retort to that was, I'll be post-feminist when you be post-patriarchal. I embrace the word feminist. I've always identified as a feminist, and I am always astonished when people say, I'm not a feminist, but I believe women are equal. It's like those two things are synonymous. For women of my generation, we still encountered a lot of sexism. I do remember the day that a man rang and I answered the phone and he said, "Oh, hello girlie, could you put one of the male reporters on please?" And I said, "Well, you'll be fresh out of luck, we don't have any of those."
Hi, my name's Souella Cumming, a partner here at KPMG. I head up our consulting practice and our government services practice for KPMG nationally. So I've had a long career here at KPMG and I was an active supporter of our Women in Business network. That really has been the genesis of me getting involved in Zonta. When I first started in this profession, there were very few women. Now, more than 50% of the graduates that are coming through, 60 or 70% are women actually.
When I decided to come to Wellington to work on the Dictionary of New Zealand Biography, somebody said to me, just be aware, if you're going to a meeting in Wellington, get there early and put all your papers right in the middle of the table and get close to the chair, because otherwise you'll have a whole lot of men around you and they elbow you out and they ignore you. When I was studying history, one of the things that happened was my supervisor, who was a very well-known historian in his time, he used to come into my study when I was working at university and say, "Well, I don't know what you're doing, Claudia. You're never going to get a job in the university. You know you're doing a PhD, but you'll never get a job." And I'd say, "Well, Keith, never mind. I'm doing or studying what I want to study, and we'll just have to wait and see."
In Afghan and Middle Eastern cultures, boys are definitely put on a pedestal. So seeing my mum work as hard as she did, seeing my sisters all graduating with degrees and having successful jobs, I think I've always looked up to them as my first instance of feminism.
One reason why I am at my considerable age working extremely hard and committed is actually Fina Cooper. She was in her 80th year when she led a land march from Te Hapua in the very, very far north to Parliament, stopping at Marae all the way down. So I thought if she could do it, so can I.
I would say that sexism in the workplace has become more covert than overt, and in some ways that's more insidious.
The more you get into these explicit examples, you get these more subtle things. And then, when you start questioning one thing, then you start questioning another thing, and then you start to look at your whole world and kind of be like, oh my God, why is it like this? There was an event maybe a year ago where I'd had some really uncomfortable stuff happen that was gender-based, and I was thinking about it and trying to work out how to deal with that. And then I went out for lunch and I happened to run into a woman from Zonta, and I was like, oh, you know what, this morning this happened, and I just kind of don't know. And she was like, oh, I'm dealing with that too. Just having someone be like, I've got that too, it's awful, but this is how I'm dealing with it. It is really nice to have that support.
Well, there are not very many women's organisations per se. You get men's clubs, but just women bringing together and understanding each other well, I think is still pretty important. Going to Zonta on a regular basis meant that I met a great variety of people in a huge range of occupations, so I found that very attractive, and still do.
Zonta has worked with stopping child marriages overseas and helping support funds and organisations that help that cause. And I think as well, in terms of the group of people and the guests that we usually have per week, we're always getting informed about another cause that we can help if we want to in our own time or spread the word. And we do a lot of partnerships as well with a lot of those organisations.
For 2 years we might be looking at family violence or education for girls. Zonta allows people doing that specific work to have a platform.
It's an organisation that's been around for over 100 years now, and when the women first established Zonta, their goal was to address gender equality and reduce violence against women. Fast forward 100 years, we've made lots of progress, but those issues still exist.
We aren't there yet.
Hopefully we start to see what it means to be a woman expand, what it means to be a man expand.
And I hope that it's easier for younger women coming up and not having to face the same things that we might have.
It's already achieved quite a lot in that space, but of course there's more to achieve, and we'll just keep going until one day we can all just sit down and have a cup of tea.